finals to face the Thunder. And we're going to get to all things that right now. It was a huge win for the Pacers. 125-108, your final. PASCAL Siakam, the MVP of the conference finals there, 31 points, 5 rebounds. Tyrese had 21. Obi Toppin with 18 off the bench. You know he loved this series against his former squad. Jalen Brunson with 19. Karl Anthony Towns with 22 and 14. OG finished with 24. But the fast break points, big discrepancy in those in favor of Indiana. First time in 25 years this team will get to sniff a finals, which is always exciting. 3-point shot, Pacers hit 17. Knicks only hit 9. Chandler, just a couple things there if we want to get into it. Take it away, Lou. What'd you see? What'd you think? How do you feel?
Yeah, first off, congratulations to Indy making it to the finals, and also New York for having a solid season. But all in all, I just thought that Indiana was just intentional. You know, they followed their game plan. They got production from a lot of different guys. They played a better brand of basketball. New York didn't take a lot of the things that they do well and that they do comfortably. They didn't take anything away. You know, you just said it, Beadle. You talked about the fast break points. They're a fast break team. They like to score fast. New York didn't slow them down at all. They used that to get to the rim. They used that to open up the 3-point line. There was a series of plays in the last game in game 6 where Indiana literally made 3 shots in a row from the same spot, corner threes. They didn't take anything away. They allowed them to play comfortably, and they took advantage of it. You know, and for me, I thought Tibbs was outcoached. I thought Carlisle made all the right adjustments. I thought he made all the right moves from adding Bryant, taking him out, adding size when he needed to match up with Mitchell Robinson. They just played a better game. They planned for a better series, and they ended up coming out with the win. And I just thought defensively, they also were they were brilliant on the defensive end. They put a lot of pressure on Brunson. A lot of pressure on Bridges and Hart. Anytime those guys dribbled the basketball, anytime they put it down, they almost was trying to turn them guys over just by playing one-on-one defense. So for me, overall, I think these guys, they just played a better series than they were coached in this series. They just did a better job, and then they ended up moving on from it. You know, New York is going to have a lot that they need to address in the future, but I think all in all, Indiana just played better.
Better ball, Chandler. Better ball.
Yeah, I agree. I think the better team won this series, and I think it was a combination of things like Lou just touched on. But the Knicks defense was not very good. It was good at times, but then Indiana's offense kind of got whatever they want, and then they caused so many turnovers where you allowed Indiana to get out in transition and do what they do best, and their fast break points, their fast break offense absolutely dominated them. So I think it was a combination of the Knicks defense not being as consistent throughout 48 minutes of a basketball game as Indiana's was. And we always talk about how good Indiana's offense is and how well coached Carlisle puts them in all these pick and rolls and all these different sets. Their defense is really good too. And guys like Nesmith and Nembhard really clamp, and I'm really looking forward to see those guys, you know, match up with SGA in the NBA Finals. But they're a balanced collective team. They have 2 stars that willed them to win this series, and PASCAL Siakam and Tyrese Haliburton. Their bench is unbelievable. They have 3-4 guys that are so productive. So the Pacers are the real deal. The Pacers prove that it doesn't matter about the slow start or everyone writing them off. They are comfortable being this underdog, and they're going to be a huge underdog against OKC, and that's not going to alter the way they play. It's not going to change anything, and it's going to be a fun series. But they deserve to win this series. They were the better team. Their defense was great at times. Their offense is always explosive. And Tyrese Haliburton and PASCAL Siakam were unbelievable.
Yeah, you know what? Let's stick with that. I don't know much, but I feel like if you've got a situation where your team and they're voting for whoever the best guy was in a series, and it's as close as a 5-4 tally, which it was in favor of PASCAL Siakam for the conference finals MVP, I feel like you're in a good place, Chandler. Like that it's so the lines are so blurred on who the most important guy was in a series. That's a great thing, right?
It is great. And that means it could have went either way. And literally he won it by 1 vote. And I don't want to take anything away from Siakam. I think without Tyrese, I think without either of them, they don't win this series. They both were pivotal. But the way Haliburton runs this offense, the way Haliburton sets up everyone else, I think he was the most valuable player of this series. But you can't look away from the big games that Siakam had and how he took advantage of every single mismatch and just abused that mid-range that we kind of got away from this year. Think about the NBA season this year. It was all 3-point shooting. It was all run and gun. And the Pacers are really good at that too. But when it slows down the half-court offense, which it tends to do a lot in the playoffs, to have a luxury like PASCAL Siakam to be able to take any guy off the dribble if he's bigger than you, any guy to the post if he's smaller than you, get to the free throw line and abuse those mismatches against New York, who's a pretty solid defensive team, was unbelievable. So the fact that you have a two-headed monster like that kind of changes the game differently was unbelievable, and it could have went either way. And again, this team was the better team, and those two guys were the best two players in the series.
For sure, man. And listen, and I agree with you, Chandler. Like, this could have went either way. It was a 5-4 vote, right? But again, let's think about Tyrese Haliburton and the playoffs he's had. You know, we've talked about his dad. He's had game winners. He's had celebrations. He's had all of these things. And PASCAL Siakam has just quietly been averaging 25 points a game, shooting 50% from the three and 50% from the field. Like, you have to reward that. He was a silent assassin in this series. And when you start looking at it like that, that is a great luxury to have. When you got a guy that can go out there and average 24.8 on 50 from the field, and you're in the media and everybody's talking about another guy, that is a great plus to have. And so he played well. He used his size every opportunity that he could. He was scrappy on the defensive end. That was everything that they needed. But again, when you have a guy like a Tyrese that deserves so much attention that he gets, it's easy to fly under the radar and do things like this. So I wasn't as surprised when he got it, but it was kind of funny to see Tyrese feel like that he was about to walk up there and receive that award, but it could have went either way. So as funny as the internet made it, he was right. Like, I'm one vote away. I was one vote away from getting this trophy, but it was also well-deserved for PASCAL Siakam as well.
Here it is. Let's see it. Just thinking. By the way, Tyrese Haliburton's on like an emotional roller coaster. It's 1 minute he's the coolest guy in the room. Next minute this happens. Never.
Yeah. Look at Tyrese here. Excuse me, y'all. Let me slide up here. Let me slide up here before I
by the way, it just shows both their personalities too in a nutshell here, right? Literally, Siakam takes a step back and Haliburton takes a step forward, and that's just kind of how little their images and them as players, and it's awesome. And again, if I'm Tyrese, I think I won it too. I averaged a double everything I did. When you think Indiana Pacers right now, you think Tyrese Haliburton. You don't think Siakam. And that also speaks volumes of Siakam just keeping his head down. He's always been one of the more underrated players in the league. When that list came out about the overrated thing about Tyrese Haliburton, which I think that is officially put to bed, I was just immediately thinking the opposite of how underrated Siakam is. And this just shows you exactly that like he just wins the Eastern Conference, the Larry Bird Award, just flying under the radar, just producing and just putting up numbers, and like 25 and on 52% from the field, 50 from three, like efficient and in ways that we thought the NBA was getting away from too, taking what the defense giving you, not shooting too many threes, but doing it at such a high clip, man. So I was happy to see it. And obviously the internet's going to have their way with Tyrese too, but he could have just as easily won this award.
I mean, the Haliburton internet love affair, it's a two-way road, and I love watching it happen. The PASCAL Siakam thing, I've already seen like a few conversations starting about the idea that if he goes on to win a championship now with Indiana, and he obviously has the win from 2019 in Toronto, and you just used the word underrated, Chandler, are we going to all need to open up our eyes starting next season and start putting him in some of these conversations that he currently does not find himself in?
I think we will, but I don't think he cares. He did this in 2019 with Kawhi. Kawhi Leonard was the main focus. He got all the awards. He got all the attention, all the headlines. And Siakam was unbelievable in that finals too. So he's been in the kind of that player B shadow before. And again, I think there's so many things that go into a great team and winning a championship. And whether it's Siakam or whether it's Carlisle's adjustments or Obi Toppin having a hell of a series, everything goes into it. But when you have a guy like this that is just zero distraction, all work, all about the team and winning, that means more. That carries more weight than just talent and hype. And that's how I think he continues to succeed, is because we don't talk about him as much as we should. We don't see him in national ads. Yeah, he gets paid a lot of money to do what he does, and you never hear anybody talk about his contract or he makes too much money, because that would be ridiculous. So I think this honestly helps him, helps his image, help his resume as a player, just to continue to fly under the radar and win and be huge reasons why his team wins. So he's used to this. He's used to doing this with Kawhi Leonard in 2019 with the Raptors when they made that magical run. And he's going to do it again this year with the Pacers and as Haliburton as kind of that guy on their team.
kind of a perfect number two, Lou, which is pretty amazing. And now we're looking at duos. And again, we've apologized. We were all wrong. And I am saying the collective we, that we did not give enough attention to the Pacers. Granted, they started out the season slow, but even when these playoffs started, I think this particular duo, for example, none of us had it on our radar. We're looking at Cat and Brunson. We're looking at Brown and
Nobody.
Tatum. Yeah, we're looking at Cleveland, everything.
Yep.
And now we look ahead, Lou, as far as next season when we kick things off and we look at the East in October when it starts up again. They need to be looked at as the best duo in the East, right? Because Tatum's going to be out.
Well, what we've learned is we got to stop naming these. We got to stop putting these titles on these things, right? Like they weren't even in the conversation that we were having about best duos. You know, at the end of the day, for me, it comes down to who's playing the best at the right time of the year, and these two guys have been able to do that. I think they should ride this wave out, and if they get some hardware out of it, then great. If not, they retool for next year, and they'll be on the list of duos. But, you know, I think Cleveland will have something to say about that with their duo. Orlando, the Knicks obviously will be back. You know, I'll even throw the Sixers in there with their guys. You know, it's going to be a lot of top guys and all-star caliber guys that are going to want to put themselves in a position to be talked about and get some redemption. You know, the Celtics are going to want some redemption. The Sixers are going to want some redemption. Let's talk about Cleveland. All of these teams that have been eliminated, they have great duos, but we didn't even talk about these two guys in that conversation. They've done everything that they could possibly do to garner respect, and they've done it. Now, if they come away with a ring, you absolutely have to look at them as one of the best duos in the Eastern Conference as well as the West, because they're about to go against, you know, one of the best duos or trios and also the best individual player in the league. Everybody is going to have something to say about it. But as far as the Eastern Conference go, these guys will be at the top of the list based on what they've been able to do this year.
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of this team, that it doesn't matter. And again, they haven't got the respect that they have. I think now people are obviously starting to open up their eyes, but I still think people will nitpick this team and the Cavs got hurt or you know, Tatum went down, and I still think you will find a way to kind of put this team in a box, which is not fair because this team is really good. This team deserves to be here. And like Lou just said, those duo trios in Cleveland and Boston and New York and like Dame and Giannis come back in Milwaukee, they're gonna think they're better. Bam and Hero are gonna think they're better than this duo. And winning cures all that, and winning shuts up all that noise. And this team has done that. This team is Eastern Conference champs. This team has at least put everybody on notice. But they're still just, whether it's the market, the names, the personality of this kind of this duo and this team, I don't think they'll get the respect that they truly deserve, because this team is really, really good. And again, I know Lou hates a list. We do this all the time. It is tough because there's guys in the gym right now already planning for next year that are already in the gym. So things change. Guys go down. Philly's an interesting one. They're going to be, if they're healthy, they have so much talent. I don't even know who would be the big two of who's going to be, because they have so many pieces. So there's a lot of great players out there. This team is going to fly under the radar, and I don't think they care where we rank them or what we rank them. They're trying to win an NBA championship, which is most important.
It's always good to be underrated or overlooked. Even being overlooked is probably better. Just want to say we're going to have this conversation, but I just want to do it under